Guys, so last week was all about the vocab of parallel lines and how things relate to each other, and this week we're going to take it a step further to show you what else can be done. It says parallel lines and algebra unite. That's because that's the next phase where this thing goes, is not only do you have to know the vocab of how angles relate, but then it's like, well, what does that mean, you know? Well, here's what it could mean, okay? So what if we know that these are parallel? Let's say that they've been labeled, or we've been told they're parallel, and maybe we know that this is 115 degrees, and that we then get an x right here. So here's where the algebra comes in. It's like, here's the unknown angle. Well, hopefully you see that this right here is a straight line, and in a straight line these two are supplementary, and that's, you could either call them a linear pair, you could call them supplementary, but to find them, they equal up to 180 when you add them. So all you would have to do is subtract, and if you do that you would know that this one just equals 65. And the thing is, it may not stop there. It may say like, okay, find every angle in the picture. So what you have to do is work your way around the picture and be like, oh, okay, well if that's 65, maybe you know that one's 65 because of a little thing called vertical angles, right, from last week. If that's 115, then maybe you know that that's 115 because of the same thing, vertical angles. So what about these four over here? Do you know what they are? And not only do you know what they are, but do you know why they are what they are? That's going to be important. So just like last week, if you jump over here and you label something, you better know why you're labeling it, not just, please don't do this. Please don't say, well, that's 115, I guess, because it's fat just like the other one. That is so not a good answer. You're going to have to use math talk, okay? So it is 115, but why is it 115? Well, you have two things you could say. You could either compare this one to this one and call it, what was that called? Alternate interior angles. Or you could compare this one to this one and you could call that corresponding angles. So just make sure you know which one you're wanting to use. And then once you've labeled this, then you can jump over here and say, oh, there's another vertical angle. Same thing here. Let me go 65 to 65. This is alternate interior, which makes that 65 through vertical angles. So I've done a lot of talking and very little writing, but all that talking I did was very important because the names of everything is going to be just as, if not more important than the actual numbers that you stick in the spot. Okay? So how can this get any trickier? Well, here's how. Okay? So instead of just a number or just a letter, what if it's an entire algebra expression? What you're going to have to do is first figure out the angles relationship. Meaning, through all the vocab last week, are these going to be congruent or are they going to be supplementary? Because it will be one or the other. And then once you do that, solve using algebra. Solve using algebra. All right, cool. So hopefully you can read my writing here. But here's what I would do. Okay, so we're dealing with this angle here, and we're dealing with this angle here. So let's decide what the relationship is. Well, if you know every rule from last week, you would notice that they are on different sides of the transversal. And if they're on different sides, that would be the word alternate or alternate. And they're on the outside of the parallel lines, so that would be exterior. Alternate exterior angles. And what did we say was true about alternate exterior? Well, we said that they are congruent, okay? And congruent, remember, can be written a bunch of different ways, but they are congruent. And if you didn't remember this one, because I know that was like the extra one that we wrote down, if you noticed maybe vertical angles, like some people go, oh, okay, well, I know these two are congruent because of vertical angles, and I know these two are congruent because of vertical angles. Then maybe you noticed this and this are the same because of alternate interior. So either way, however you need to work around the picture, do so and tell me what their relationship is and understand, like in this case, they are congruent. Well, if they're congruent, guys, step number 2, make them congruent. Make them equal each other. So 2x plus 10 equals this other fella over here. That's what congruent means. Now use the algebra that you've known for your last 2-3 years to solve it. Okay? So I'm going to start by, I'm going to move the 10 over and recopy all this. So that would be 2x equals 4x minus 40. Now what? Now let's get the x's together. So let me subtract 4x from both sides and get negative 2x equals negative 40. So x equals 20. So sometimes they might just want to know what is x, okay? And if they did, then you could say 20. If, however, they say what is the angle, what would you have to do if they say what's the angle? Well, now you got to take that 20 and plug it in and get the angle. So 2 times 20 is 40, and then 40 plus 10 is 50. How big is that angle? Well, it better be 50 because we said they're supposed to match. So if you want, check your angle in there. 4 times 20 is 80. 80 minus 30 is 50. Okay, good. It checks out. It should check out. They should be the same thing. All right, coolio. So anything else with parallel lines? Well, we're going to do a double parallel transversal and then try to solve another algebra expression. So here's what this might look like. I've labeled one set of parallel lines like so, and then maybe there's another set of parallel lines. And so we have double parallel transversals is what this is. So you could view this as a transversal or as part of the parallel lines, and the same can be said about any of the other 3 lines. And what might happen is you may have somebody labeled like out here, like let's say this is 3x plus 15 degrees, okay? And then you may have somebody else labeled like on a whole other quadrant or something, like maybe right here. Maybe this says like 4x minus 10. Okay, so we've got this one labeled and we've got this one labeled. So what you're going to have to do is, like above, try to figure out what in the world is their relationship, okay, because they're on totally different sets of everything. So what I do is I usually just pick one angle and travel around until I know the relationship. So in other words, this one and this one are congruent because of corresponding angles. So this could also be labeled as a 3x plus 15, okay? Then I would focus on this, okay? I would not look at this anymore. I would look over here and say, okay, well, if this is 3x 15, then this is also 3x plus 15 because of vertical angles. And then if I'm on the inside and I jump across the line, this one is also 3x plus 15. So whatever that is, it can be labeled here and here and here just by using all my knowledge of what's supposed to be congruent. So I'm going to go ahead and label this as 3x plus 15 again. Now look, now I'm over here and these two guys are together. And what's their relationship? Are they equal or are they supplementary? Well, they are supplementary. Why are they supplementary? That is a straight line right there, right? So these two have to add up to 180. So once you figure out the relationship, like this one's supplementary, then you would take your 4x minus 10 plus your other angle, 3x plus 15, and now let them equal 180. So notice it wasn't a set them equal to each other like I did above, was it? It was literally like, oh, they're supposed to add up to 180, so make them add up to 180 and then solve. So 4x plus 3x is 7x, a negative 10 and a positive 15 is a plus 5. I'm going to subtract 5. I'm going to divide by 7 and hopefully get an answer. Okay, I don't think it's going to be an even answer, but that's okay. 7 goes into 17 twice, with a remainder of, let's see, 4, 3, 35. Oh my gosh, is it possible? It is possible. It goes in there evenly. Hallelujah. So x is 25, and if x is 25, that's great, but what are the angles? Well, for this one, I would plug in the 25 here and get 75 plus 15. What is that? 75 plus 15. Is that 90? Okay, so that one ends up being 90 degrees. Then I need to go ahead and plug this one into the other one also, because these two are supposed to be supplementary, which means I already know this one's going to end up being 90, but anyways, plug it in just to make sure. And sure enough, you'll get that they're both 90. Now that was a fluke, just so you know. They don't always end up to where they're both 90. That was just a fluke that they happen to be supplementary, but also equal. Normally, you know, maybe that's like 80 and that's 100 or something like that. But this is the one I created, so yay. All right, cool. But that's it. Just take your time. Look for the relationship. That's the most important thing to take away. Look for the relationship. Are they congruent or are they supplementary? Then set up your equation either by doing equals or by adding them and equaling them to 180. Then solve and you are finished. So good luck with the homework. I will see you in the solutions video.